I have been unemployed for 2 years.
The jobs I could actually qualify for, they wanted someone with less experience.
They want somebody younger, cheaper, fresher, something, I don't know. We're not deadbeats. We're not looking for a handout.
I was not proud to be on it. I had to do it to survive.
I've been out there looking for other work, temporary work that would help to get me through.
Why didn't you start getting the jobs in before you start taking away people's benefits?
Taking away the benefits doesn't help anybody. It just makes the problem worse.
I would ask them walk 1 week in the shoes of a person who got the unemployment support, so that you would know what it felt like to not have enough money in order to just barely get by.
The reform of North Carolina's unemployment insurance system is controversial. Supporters say it will be good for the state's economy. Opponents say it unfairly punishes the unemployed. But regardless of the merits of each argument or where you stand in the debate, the simple fact is that tens of thousands of people cut loose by their employers are being cut off by their government. And while this program will examine the debate over the policy, our primary focus is the people it affects the most.
This is a legislative disaster that our own leaders have put us in.
There's a storm over Dale Krause's house. There's one in his life, too. It is June the 27th, and he is just a few days away from losing his sole source of income.
It did not have to happen this way.
Krause is losing his unemployment benefits because of a new law passed by the legislature and signed by the governor.
I am very surprised and disappointed that they have this little regard for the people of the state of North Carolina who are suffering already.
Krause worked nearly 40 years in the furniture industry. In 2005, Room Store Furniture hired him as an operations manager at its distribution center in Rocky Mount.
And we had a really good time there, did some great things, made some changes, improved the business.
But on June the 29th, 2012, Room Store announced it was closing its stores and liquidating its inventory.
We got a call that said, you need to get your things together and evacuate the building, lock the doors please. It was devastating.
Krause filed for unemployment 2 weeks later.
No one likes to step up and ask for the government to help them through a situation.
Krause held out hope that the company would hire him back until his health insurance claim stopped getting processed in September.
It's just another hit to the gut, but it's one you get back up from. You start finding a way to get back up and find a way around that.
When his state unemployment benefits ran out in February, federal extended benefits kicked in.
It has been a lifesaver for us.
Now try it.
It pays for health insurance.
I am not a good candidate for health insurance.
So he pays a high price for coverage, which ate up most of his unemployment compensation. His unemployment benefit was about $1,800 a month. Health insurance premiums for himself and his wife and son totaled $1,400 a month. And he has one prescription that is $360 a month, leaving only $40 a month left.
We had some savings. We've used most of our savings.
Krause's wife Elaine has a small home business making dolls and selling them online. It helps make ends meet.
We couldn't make it without her. We couldn't make it without the internet business.
We're in a position where we'll end up robbing Peter to pay Paul. You try to get extensions on the car payments. You try to get extensions on other payments. You push things out as much as you can.
Meantime, Krause has been doing everything he can think of to find a job.
It's not what I looked for a job, but it's an opportunity to help somebody else do something.
He attends business networking events and seminars. He's gotten counseling through the state's workforce development program. And he's taken classes at Wake Tech that are designed to help people get back in the workforce.
So there's a world of things out there that you learn about, but you have to go looking for them, and you have to stay up and stay motivated. I'll give you mine as well.
Even when he still can't find a job after more than a year of looking.
It's very disappointing. It's very challenging to face that each day. We lift each other up in prayer, and we stand by each other, and so we get through those days. But yes, there are days when it is just about overwhelming.
Having his unemployment benefits cut off doesn't make it any easier.
This policy is not the right thing. There is no way in my mind that this policy is the right thing to do right now.
Next, the debate over that policy.
Is it a perfect bill? No, it isn't. I don't know how to make it any better.
My last job was at the ConAgra foods plant in Garner, North Carolina. Of course, the Garner plant closed up, so they put over 500 people out of work. During this time, I've been unemployed. I've been constantly trying to find a similar job in that area, and there just isn't any being offered in this area. Until something comes through, I'm going to do odd jobs, whatever I can find to make sure that I can meet my mortgage. My wife, she's a proud woman, and she's not going to tolerate, me not having any income coming in until I can find something. It's going to be kind of stressful in my marriage, to say the least.
I worked for RBC Bank. It was bought out by PNC Bank, and my department was eliminated, so I was out of a job. And I have been unemployed for approximately 11 months. It's been very difficult to find a job. My age is, I think, held against me. I am 59 years old. I've had very few telephone interviews, and I've only had 2 interviews in a year. So that's pretty darn scary. Unemployment benefits kept me going. It's been very, very tough. I'm grasping at straws right now, trying to figure out what's going to happen next.
If it's so that I can work it into my schedule, I'd like to.
Mac Langdon employs 65 people at his pest control companies in Raleigh, Smithfield, and Wilmington.
What time is that meeting going to be?
Like other employers, he pays federal and state taxes on each employee. Those taxes fund benefits for unemployed workers.
If they qualify for unemployment benefits, they need a helping hand up to get back to a gainfully employed situation.
In the 1990s, the legislature cut unemployment insurance taxes.
It was probably 100% supported by the General Assembly at that time, Democrat and Republicans, to cut these taxes.
The tax cuts, combined with some economic downturns, began to deplete the state's unemployment trust fund.
Well, this is sort of like an ant eating a ham biscuit. It happened one bite at a time.
The biggest bite came with the Great Recession of 2008. The state's unemployment rate more than doubled from 5.1% in January 2008 to 11.2% 2 years later.
And that drained the fund, and we didn't have the resources to be able to pay those benefits.
The state had to borrow money from the federal government to pay them. It racked up a $2.5 billion debt.
Only California and New York owe the federal government more money than we do.
Until that debt is paid off, federal unemployment taxes are rising at a rate of about $21 per employee per year.
Become solvent.
Representative Julia Howard says that's a big burden on businesses.
The debt that we owed to the federal government was impeding job growth and economic development. The debt is creating a real disadvantage.
Last summer, Howard was among the legislators who began crafting House Bill 4. It's designed to help employers by paying off the debt 3 years sooner to reduce unemployment taxes sooner. To do that, it slightly increases state unemployment taxes, makes more employers subject to the tax, and cuts benefits to unemployed workers.
Everybody was at the table and nobody liked it, which makes me believe that it's a pretty fair and balanced bill.
The bill reduces the maximum benefit from $535 a week to $350 a week, and the maximum eligibility period from 26 to 20 weeks. Federally funded extended benefits kick in after state benefits run out, but a federal law terminates those benefits if the state makes cuts to its own benefit amounts, like the ones in House Bill 4. Legislative leaders, realizing the cuts in the bill would violate the law, wrote a letter to North Carolina's congressional delegation on December the 7th, asking for an exemption, but did not get one. The U.S. Department of Labor says it warned legislative staff and the State Department of Commerce in January that the benefit cuts in House Bill 4 could result in a loss of federal funding for extended benefits. But in February, the legislature passed the bill and Governor McCrory signed it into law. In March, the Labor Department notified Governor McCrory that it was terminating federal extended benefits when House Bill 4 took effect.
They were telling us, what would happen. We were breaching our contract with them.
The breach occurred because House Bill 4 took effect July the 1st, but Congress funded federal extended benefits through the end of the year.
We had no knowledge that the federal government was going to opt to extend the benefits.
But Congress did that a month before the legislative session even began.
Every other person in this country knew on January 24th, 2013, that the federal government had already signed that legislation, taking us off the fiscal cliff, and that had been extended until December 31st, 2013.
With House Bill 4 taking effect halfway through the current funding period for federal extended benefits and no further action by the state, the Labor Department followed through on its promise and terminated funding for the benefits July the 1st.
North Carolina is the only state in this country who thumbed their nose at the federal government and said, we want to make a point of this with our people, with our unemployed.
When you deny 70,000 workers unemployment, you are doing with what no other governor or legislature has ever done in the history of North Carolina, and it's just wrong.
The state's overhaul of its unemployment insurance system became one of the rallying points of the so-called Moral Monday protests at the legislature.
The hurt you're doing to the unemployed is wrong.
The 70,000 who lost unemployment benefits at the end of June will be followed by tens of thousands more people by the end of the year.
They're worried about how they're going to pay their rent. They're worried how they're going to pay their mortgage, their utility bills, their car payments, just trying to make ends meet.
My heart hurts, I understand. But at some point in time, we had to make a hardcore decision.
If you could do it all over again, would you do it the same way?
Absolutely.
Howard says the unemployment insurance reforms will encourage people to go back to work.
Traditionally, people who are receiving extended long-term benefits don't perhaps look for as aggressively seek employment.
In January, Howard told a reporter that unemployment benefits were becoming a welfare-dependent program.
My feelings were hurt of it. I'm not dependent on the system. I've not taken checks from this government for 13 consecutive terms, as Representative Howard has.
When people lost federal unemployment benefits, the state's economy lost an estimated $600 million they would have spent.
It's going to hurt small businesses. It will probably have more of an impact in some of our rural areas where there's high unemployment.
It looks like in many ways it was a one-sided approach.
Jim Cleckley is the director of East Carolina University's Bureau of Business Research. He says the state made a mistake by losing federal funding for unemployment benefits.
To me, it was a gift that was there, and they just turned their backs on it.
Cleckley says it could have had as much as $1 billion impact on the state's economy.
It's an effect that really filters down.
Cleckley also says unemployment taxes have little to no impact on economic growth.
I think it's a lot of hyperbole. I haven't seen any supporting evidence for it. Will this help employers create some more jobs? Maybe. But not to account for all the people that are losing the benefits. No way, not even close.
How are you on your statusing all of our service orders?
Mac Langdon admits his higher unemployment taxes are not a big burden, but he says a lower tax rate later, after the state's unemployment insurance debt is paid off, could be a boost.
It would help us hire additional people, grow our business.
Langdon says hiring people has been a challenge, but is already getting easier thanks to lower unemployment benefits.
There was disincentive for them to apply or to accept what we were offering based on their level of skills and experience they were bringing to the table compared to the benefits they were getting through unemployment.
He also thinks a shorter eligibility period for benefits will help people get back to work too.
We need to help people, there's no question about that, but we can't just continue to help people on and on and on and on.
10 weeks.
Of course, the bigger problem is that North Carolina's high unemployment rate continues to go on and on and on.
A lot of the jobs we lost are not coming back. And so the people that lost those jobs have to do other things, and a lot of that takes education.
The Division of Employment Security says it's trying to do a better job of finding people work.
The governor wants me to be unemployed because that means everyone else in North Carolina would have a job.
That may sound good, but there's no such thing as 0% unemployment. Even getting back to the 5.1% rate the state had before the Great Recession will be difficult, with about 3 unemployed workers for every available job.
Everyone we've talked to wants to go to work, but there aren't the jobs here.
Okay, now try it.
Next, we'll check in on Dale Krause's efforts to find a job, a month after his unemployment benefits were cut off.
I have tried and worked diligently trying to find employment.
I was finishing my master's degree online, and I was a substitute teacher. I was receiving those benefits so it would help me to be able to complete my internship so that I could obtain a teacher's position. The state decided to cut that, and now I have no source of supporting myself. I don't have any family or friends, to really help me, so I'm really stuck out here on my own. It really frightens me because it says that people don't care about one another the way that we should.
Over time, what had happened is that the company I worked for had decided that they were no longer going to be able to keep employees as salary. I wasn't given much. It was about $350 a week. Didn't even pay my bills, but it was better than nothing. I can't afford that $60 tank of gas to drive to Raleigh if I want to interview for a job. I can't afford to go out and buy a couple new shirts if I feel like it would benefit me for an interview. And this isn't making my job search any easier, it's making it harder. It's limiting my options where I can go. It's kind of an odd feeling when you realize that you don't have any more toothpaste or toilet paper. Which one should you buy?
A month after losing his unemployment benefits, Dale Krause still has not found work.
I am keeping my resume in front of folks. I keep my LinkedIn file up to date.
And he's kept hoping that somehow, some way, he would get his benefits back until he can find a job.
I kept hoping that the legislature would have a special session and would rethink their position on the unemployment insurance, and unfortunately that did not happen. Can I have a knife, please?
On June the 30th, as his benefits were ending, Krause got a text reminder that it was time to refile his benefits claim.
That was just a dead hit to the gut again. Thank you for all that you've done.
He's had to cancel the health insurance policies for himself and his wife and son.
In Christ's name we pray. Amen. I have had some health problems in the past, and we used our savings. We used the 401k to pay those expenses, so I don't have the resources to go back and do that again today.
When we interviewed him back in June, Krause talked about the letters he had written to his legislators, urging them to rethink House Bill 4.
Right now, I am very embarrassed by what our leaders are doing to the people of the state who have already been hit and not had the wind knocked out of them. I'm very upset about what they've done to us in that regard.
Krause says he sent 5 emails to the governor through his Contact Pat webpage.
But the governor has not responded to me, and no one from his office has responded.
Governor McCrory likes to call citizens customers.
I'm not getting customer service. Absolutely not. Not if I can't even get a response.
We tried, but we could not get an interview with Governor McCrory for this documentary. But in a brief interview for WRAL News, He said it was important to start paying off the state's unemployment insurance debt to the federal government as soon as possible.
So had we not stopped it, that debt would have increased even more. So I'm cutting up the credit card to the federal government.
Kraus voted for McCrory. He also voted for his Republican representatives in the legislature. That's because he's a Republican too.
Have been most of my life.
He says he is disappointed.
I absolutely will vote differently next time.
Kraus is trying to start a new furniture business with some partners in High Point. He and Elaine are also trying to build her home business. And if that's not enough,
we'll just start selling stuff. That's all I know to do.
I will find a way to get through this with God's help. We're going to come out of this and we'll be better off than we were before.